I wanted to let you guys know. Okay, so what I just did to my hair is I put the premium castor oil on and the regular castor oil on together. And when I washed it, I let it air dry. I put these four twists on each side. And so the texture that wanted came back. I would those are my texture. I was getting to a point where my hair was not as textured as I wanted it to be. So that I put the headbands on and I got this texture back, so I'm happy. So the other what I want to do is talk to you about what they keep saying. They keep talking about whether I would want no, whether I would wipe my butt every day, wash my butt every day. Now, here's my problem with them. If they keep saying that we have a problem with the water, this and I use baby wipes and different things, why do they are they concerned? So they're like, oh, they knew they wanted to see me talk about this. I feel like it should be spoken about. There's a problem with the water and it makes my skin irritated, and you've seen my leg. Why would I put that water on my butt if I can avoid it? So they said they lied. They said they lied on me and said I didn't shower or bathe or whatever. But I've used wipes and they admit that I used wipes. So I again, this is how these types of people think. And it's important that I'm going to do a new series now. I talked about their psychology, which I think I've talked about enough. I'm going to talk about their thought processes. Their thought process is that if they're going through something, if they can make you go through the same thing, it makes them look normal. Absolutely doesn't. It's the reverse. It's the reverse. If I'm going through a difficult time, like say for example, this, and then I gang stalk someone else, does that make me look better? No, it makes me look worse because they just said, oh, it's a lack of empathy. No, that's psychology. We're going to talk about thought processes now. Thought process is how people connect things to each other. I'm going to pause this for a second. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how these people think. The way they process information, and I've been around these types of people, they sit and watch things and then they plan. So if you catch them off guard, like most of us, if you catch us off guard, we can keep flowing because we're not pre-planning. When you catch them off guard, they tend to stop and they just get quiet because you got them in the middle of one of their plans. They're like boo, 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 and so they just stop. So then when you say something to them, they take a while before they answer because they were already planning something and you threw them off their plan. So their plan with this gang stalking was to make me look like they look, which I don't. But once I threw them off their plan, they started to try to bring in as many people to turn my channel too, because I had this channel from before and they didn't like it, to turn it to be more about them. And that's another thing about their thought process. Something in their minds, it's always about them. So if you startle them, it's about them. So what do? They try to throw you off. So if they're thrown off, they're going to try to throw you off. So that's what I was saying about how they operate, how they think. So for example, I'm going to try to use an example that will make sense. You're They're planning something. You watch them and they're watching something. Like usually they do that a lot. They sit and watch people. And you know they're scheming to do something to that person over there. And you're like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, then they go back to what they wanted to watch what they were watching, and then kind of like look at you like, man, you messed me up. So then you're like, well, what's going on? How you doing? They wait. What do you mean how I'm doing? What do you think? So then they do that because what they're trying to do now is get that thought out of their heads to a new thought because they have a hard time doing two things at once. They have a hard time shifting focus. So they're like, what do you mean? What are you doing? Where are you going? So then they start to question you and you're like, no, I just want to know how you're doing. I see, you look real serious. You kind of have a serious face. What do you mean I look serious? So then they start to question you. So by the time you're like, I'll see you later, they go right back to staring at the thing they're plotting to do because they have a hard time taking the focus off what they're planning and plotting to something else. And if you try to take the focus off them, they get upset, they get angry, they start to question you because they're planning and plotting. They plan and plot a lot of things. In the process of going through this with them, I remember them from when I was a kid. When I was a kid, these types of people, they always start trouble. And they would, if everyone was miserable, they were happy. They would just like sit back, relax. The moment we all got happy and start doing something, they get quiet. And they're like, because the focus isn't on them, and we're all in our little, they keep saying my little world, meaning I'm with the happy people. I'll admit it, I'm with the happy people. And they're not with the happy people. They're with no people really, but they're definitely not with the happy people. So they sit and plot how we're gonna make these people, happy people, unhappy. So then they start thinking, okay, this person doesn't like this, that person doesn't like that. So I'll just kind of try to do it, but not directly, because then they would be blamed. So they don't want themselves to be blamed. So they'll be like that. And we're all like, hey, happy, happy, happy. And they're like this. Then what they'll do is they'll see something, and they'll try to start that person who could kind of make the unhappy people the happy people unhappy. They'll try to start to get in with that person, so that they'll both be able to work this plan together. That's why they do it that way. So then they'll do something, and they'll call over somebody from the happy group. Come here for a second. That's what they do. Come here for a second. Come here, come here, come here for a second. Because they got to pull you away from the happy people. Because if you're all standing happy together, you're all like, and they don't want that. Come here, come here. So then by the time they get one of the happy people away, they'll say something and make that person unhappy. So then the happy people are like, come back. Why'd you leave? Why'd you leave? And the person who left is like, no, no. And that changes the mood immediately. So I'm going to keep doing more videos like this, where I tell you exactly how these people operate, how they think. No more their psychology, no more this other kind of stuff. How they process information, so that when you see this happening, you can know right away what you're dealing with. Thank you for watching.